Alright, let's dive into something that's both incredibly frustrating and surprisingly manageable if you know what to do: medical debt. And I'm not just talking about the kind of debt that makes you groan when the bill arrives. I'm talking about the kind that can completely derail your financial life. Here's the thing. Medical debt is one of those silent crises that affects millions of people, but it's often treated like a personal failure rather than a systemic issue. Personally, I think what makes this really interesting is how little control we often have over medical expenses. You don't plan to get sick or injured, yet the bills pile up like it's your fault. So when I heard Kathryn McCall, a financial advisor, share her insights on this, I was all ears. One thing that immediately stands out is her advice on itemized bills. She says, make sure you're actually paying attention to the itemized bill. Sounds simple, right? But here's the kicker. Most people don't even bother to look at the details. They just see the total and either freak out or pay it without questioning. What many people don't realize is that medical bills are often riddled with errors, double-charged items, services you never received, or inflated costs. If you take a step back and think about it, this is basically free money being left on the table if you don't catch it. Negotiating the bill? That's another game changer. Hospitals and providers often expect this, and they're usually willing to work with you. It's not just about reducing the amount. It's about taking control of a situation that feels completely out of your hands. Now, let's talk about the bigger picture here. A recent study by Fidelity Investments found that Americans are only saving 3 to 4% of their income this year. That's alarmingly low, especially when you consider how unpredictable life can be. Medical debt is just one piece of this puzzle, but it's a big one. What this really suggests is that we're not just struggling with saving, we're struggling with unexpected expenses that can wipe out any progress we've made. This raises a deeper question. How can we build a financial safety net when the system itself feels stacked against us? McCall also touches on something I find fascinating: utility costs. She points out that running appliances during peak hours, 8 a.m. to midnight, can make them 15 times more expensive. If you're an early riser, she says you can save a ton by doing laundry or running the dishwasher before 8 a.m. From my perspective, this is a perfect example of how small, intentional changes can add up to significant savings. It's not just about cutting costs, it's about being mindful of how and when you spend. What makes this really interesting is how it ties into broader trends of energy consumption and pricing. Peak hours aren't just more expensive, they're also when the grid is under the most strain. So, by shifting your habits, you're not just saving money, you're also reducing your environmental footprint. Another detail I find fascinating is her advice on selling clothes. She mentions consigning or selling items online as a way to declutter and earn extra cash. Personally, I think this is underrated. We all have stuff sitting in our closets that we haven't worn in years, yet we hold on to it just in case. What this really suggests is that we're not just hoarding clothes, we're hoarding potential income. It's a mindset shift. Instead of seeing your closet as storage, see it as a mini business waiting to happen. Finally, her tip about using PTO time hit home for me. She calls it free money, and she's absolutely right. Your time is your money, and if you're not using your paid time off, you're essentially leaving cash on the table. What many people don't realize is that PTO isn't just a perk. It's part of your compensation. Not using it is like turning down a raise. If you take a step back and think about it, this ties into a bigger cultural issue: our tendency to glorify overwork and undervalue rest. Using your PTO isn't just about taking a break. It's about reclaiming your time and your worth. So, here's my closing thought. Financial advice often feels overwhelming because it's presented as a list of things you're doing wrong. But what I love about McCall's tips is that they're actionable and empowering. They're not just about cutting back. They're about taking control. Whether it's negotiating a medical bill, shifting your utility habits, or selling old clothes, every small step is a move toward financial freedom. And that, in my opinion, is what makes this conversation so important. What do you think? Are there any tips you've found helpful for managing unexpected expenses? Let me know in the comments. I'd love to hear your perspective.